and welcome to the New World Review. I'm Grandline Waifu, and today we are being super sneaky. We're going to delve into the moralistic side of Hunter x Hunter with discussion on the greater good versus the absolute good and see what we make of it all. Let's get into episodes 98 and 99. Episode 98, and it's all about morality. Something's going on with Killua, but interestingly, after spending a lot of time in his head, he's now a bit of a hidden entity for us. There's friction between the two of them in terms of what Gon can do, what Killua can do, and where Killua used to be a hugely submissive character, that seems to be dissipating as the effect of his brother's needle wears off. Either way, Killua's not willing to compromise on the situation, and I'm not sure why, beyond the knowledge that he can move faster or do things alone. I'm sure there's more to it than that, and I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but for now that's kind of what I think about it. Despite knowing the chameleon was behind them, Killua deliberately split up. He knew for a fact that Gon would not be able to stay hidden, so he's effectively using Gon as bait for the chameleon dude. Compare this situation with every prior one in which Killua protected Gon, and it's clear something about him is very different. It may be that he's being harsh for the sake of the mission, or because he feels for Kite, or because he wants Gon to achieve his goals, because that's something that he's firmly had in mind throughout this, but it's fascinating seeing Killua do what his dad wants and take the lead, which is very much in the nature of him sort of moving back toward his family origins, towards that story that we left behind like was it 3? It was a while. Anyway, as interesting as it is to see him using his assassin training and learnings in earnest the way he is, I'm concerned. As an aside, I always thought Gon's mental steaming was a metaphor for an overloaded brain. To both see it come out and for Killua to acknowledge and shut it down was a strange sight. From my perspective, it's been very much about how we see inside Gon's mind, or don't, because we can't be inside a steaming brain. There's no space, silly. I expected him to be concerned, not slightly frustrated, which is how the actor played it. And it's fully understandable. There's no space in this mission for vulnerability, and Gon and Knuckle are our emotional weak points. Despite the things that have come up, both Killua and Coward Guy are the reason why any of this plan, or at least their part in it, could succeed. The same could be said for White Morpheus and Dude Trinity. White Morpheus is a loose cannon that can hold it together for the job, and I think he will. They all have shockingly similar archetypes to play in this, so we will have to see who ends up being the weakest link and in what way. To look at it differently, Gon and Killua could one day become Knuckle and Coward, who could one day become Morpheus and Trinity. I love the idea of Gon with teeny glasses and Killua with slick down hair, so I'll just enjoy that moment. I'll enjoy that image for a moment. Just because they're in different stages of development doesn't mean that what we saw wasn't one scene repeating. 3 times the scene played out, and each time it was slightly different. Just how different? I guess we'll see in the next episode. Meanwhile, it was all political. The king of the savannah fell in with the actual king, and they're currently a backdrop for all the internal issues of East Gorto. Goring that toe. Speaking of East Gorto, the 5 minutes Killua spent explaining things, it better not just be Togashi deciding to detail the world for funsies and then sharing it with us, because it felt shoehorned. I understood that they're infiltrating, and I know we need to understand the stakes and situation to a degree, but sometimes, often when Gon steams actually, it feels like Togashi just wanted to make sure he doesn't waste his creativity by cutting things out. Or maybe it's just that the discussion is too much or too clunky for the animation and the art that's trying to contain it. I do wonder sometimes whether if Togashi were well enough, he'd have cut most of this out and made a world companion guide with all the world lore instead. Interestingly, that could be fascinating, and I'd love to develop a tabletop game where you get to roleplay through the Hunter exam and encounter things in the world. Anyway, now that I'm done steaming quietly, I'm not too sure what to make of Chameleon Guy. Did Killua go off to do his own thing, or is he going to turn up and kill Mero Dude? He's a stealthy guy after all, and despite the shift in leadership, I wonder whether all that softness for Gon is gone, or if it's just because he's afraid. Or busy. I guess he's busy. He has a lot to do in his head constantly, because that's Killua. The incredibly poorly hidden massacre of the town and the severely extreme lengths they went to hide that people were gone. I don't know how Killua picked up on the bloodstains or noticed that a chair was so expertly hiding the situation from those who lived in East Gorto. Those people must... It wasn't covered up, Killua. It wasn't covered up. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say to you, dude. It wasn't. Everything that happened was a way to show the extent to which the stakes are being set. We keep being given numbers to qualify the level of concern. I personally have no concept of what 1 million people look like. It's hard to consider numbers that large in any real terms, but Togashi's trying to make serious points about scale, the number of dead, the number that must die, the number they must kill. And then we have Gon punching a snaky dude, Bran refusing to kill even him. Not off to a good start if Gon's already behaving like Knuckle. It's like Killua said ages ago, Knuckle's too soft and pacifist. I'm not too sure what that says about Gon, but if we go back to the concept that all three impulsive and emotional characters don't actually want to use their abilities to kill, it makes the defeat of the ants somewhat challenging. Three of the group believe in the greater good. It doesn't make them feel good, but it leads to better outcomes. The other three seem to believe in absolute good and the morality of killing, and I don't think that can be a good thing in this context. Psychologically, greater good thinking will save more people and be healthier for the characters. Absolutism is an ideal, and you can't make functioning plans based on absolutes. As it is, every plan is perfect until it comes into contact with reality, so let's just see how reality plays out in episode 99. Episode 99, and about that absolutism. There was a cute little metaphor in the episode that I'd like to touch on. Morel. I had to go ask Liam what his name is because White Morpheus didn't fit. Morel goes on a rant about his morels, I guess, and Trinidude reads The Secret Garden while he does. I'm a huge fan of the use of sheen on glasses that turns up in anime because it gives us these clues as to what characters are trying to hide, or sometimes it makes things crystal clear about the lack of sway in the character. Like Shinji's dad, who I think is actually a hugely emotional character, but let's not get into that right now, that's not necessary. The blocking of glasses is always very specifically done to emphasize a point, and here it's used to counterbalance another behavior Trinidude Nov is showing. He's reading. And he's reading The Secret Garden, which is a metaphor in a number of ways for the current situation. The Secret Garden could be East Gorteau, of course, but within it is magic and healing too. The little piece that is placed right in the scene might indicate Nov's stance on the situation. And in fact, at first, the way his movements were so stilted and blocked, and I feel like that was more than usual, I very specifically wondered, and still do, whether he's a plant and actually sits on the board of the Hunters Association, or if he's actually an ant already? Which seems to have more control over the way hunters live and work than I thought they did. Or maybe I hadn't really thought about it. The important thing is that Nov is keeping himself in check and expressing himself through the media he chooses to engage in. Because he could be reading anything. Togashi could have written anything on that book. I'm a huge fan of knowing what exactly characters are reading and when they choose to read. That Morel took the book away was a big sign of both his desire to drag Nov into his perspective and Nov's desire to stay in a place of healing. But Nov wasn't swayed. And that's a significant point because let's move on to the younger pair. Knuckle and Shoot fell apart this episode. They left their posts and the plan has more uncertainty introduced into it every time one of these pairings break from whatever the plan actually is, which I'm fairly sure requires them to, deal with people together instead of splitting up constantly. Just like Morel taking the potential of serenity, healing, and growth from Nov, Knuckle took it from Shoot. They can't just let people die, can they? Of course not. But that tiny departure is a huge departure from what they're supposed to be doing, which is letting others handle the squadron leaders. That hunters haven't managed to take down the squadron leaders is a concern in itself, and suggests that maybe the ants are further flung already than they were before. All they need, if you recall, is a single ant to breed, and the process continues. So now we have Gon and Killua separated, with Killua doing what he does best, which is wreaking havoc, and Gon doing what he does best, which is punching things and magically managing to make a difference only to be manipulated into behaving counter to the plan. That combat between Gon and the ants was enjoyable to watch, come to think of it. I enjoy seeing Gon learn as he acts, and it's so counter to him thinking about anything outside of combat. It's almost like his steam outlet gets opened while he's fighting, so it doesn't get overcharged and he can put the mental energy to use. That's the only way I can characterize it, because otherwise I'm getting mad again that he's too clever to be steaming at all. The existence of an owl-bat-gorilla combo was great to see, and actually it took me back to the initial episode of Gon catching the fish. We know that Gon has heightened senses, we've seen him smelling the ground and tracking, we've seen him hunting Ahsoka. He is a naturally derived character, and that's a powerful being to see at work. Watching him heft a tree was freeing and hilarious, and I loved the frame of him pulling at it. The hesitation in it and the sequence of frames was chaotic and fun. just fun, which is, now that I think about it, something we haven't really seen in a while. Similarly, seeing Killua doing his thing was beautiful. He's a force to be reckoned with, and it feels like after taking a back seat to Gon for so long, he's coming back into his own. We're seeing the nonchalant, quick-thinking, clear kid we saw in the first arc, and I love that. In fact, across these episodes, that's what's changed, and maybe that's what Gon's noticed. He's not doubtful of himself anymore. There's no self-doubt. He's just doing what he's doing and doing it well enough that a certain cat bug wants to hunt him down. But that's where our last pairing sits, because we've got a butterfly-alinist sitting tight in their stronghold to look after their king, because that's the real task. They know it's a play to pull them away from Merry, but they're not playing into it. And damn, I love it when villains are intelligent enough not to do the really obvious thing right away. Like it's just, yes, there is something about an intelligent villain. Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing where we jump to next, because frankly, I'm not seeing any protagonists at the moment, just a jumbled assortment of characters, including a new one in the new end credits. It's great to see Killua looking up and strong and proud now, but who's that random little one at the end? Is that Colt's baby? Put a super powerful tantruming teenager against a toddler and let the toddler win. That's how it would happen in real life. Come on. Since I want to know, that's going to be it from me and Colt's baby. If you enjoyed this odd, moralistic, simplistic, fatalistic discussion of the world, click over here and here. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.